Good afternoon. Welcome to This Week in Turkey. Turkey's ruling Justice and Development Party, AKP, wants to void the mayoral election in Istanbul, whose preliminary results show that the AKP has lost the race. The ruling party claims that the irregularities have swayed the outcome and that electoral officials should order a new vote. Meanwhile, the pro-Kurdish opposition People's Democratic Party, HDP, also demands a rerun of the local elections in districts where its candidates have been elected mayor but disallowed from taking up their posts.
President Tayyip Erdoğan has said electoral authorities should annul Istanbul's local elections due to irregularities, notably over the appointment of ballot box officials, the pro-government media reported on Wednesday. Initial results indicated that the main opposition, Republican reporters this week, Erdoğan said that regulations requiring ballot box officials to be civil servants had not been met everywhere. Our colleagues have established this. Naturally, all this casts doubt. If they take a sincere view, this will lead to annulment, he said. Any decision to annul the elections rests with the Supreme Election Board, YSK. Reuters has reported that a senior AKP official said on Tuesday that it would demand a new vote in Istanbul after failing to secure a citywide recount of the March 31st election results. The AKP has already requested the annulment of the election in Istanbul's Büyükçekmece district, citing irregularities in voter records. Police have been checking whether some of those who voted were actual residents there. Ekrem İmamoğlu, the mayor of CHP's provincial head in Istanbul, said İmamoğlu was still leading by 14,005 votes, with 97.4% of the partial recount completed. Meanwhile, the YSK declared on Wednesday that it will not award the certificate of election to the elected mayors who were previously dismissed by a decree issued during the state of emergency. The elected mayors in question have been accused of having links with terrorist organizations. In a meeting, the members of the YSK decided by unanimous vote not to allow elected mayors dismissed under the decree law to take office, while deciding with the majority of the votes to award mayoral candidates in second place instead. The decision affects 6 mayors to be from the People's Democratic Party, HDP, in the districts of Van's Edremit, Çaldıran and Tuşba, Diyarbakır's Bağlar, Erzurum's Tekman, and Dağpınar Township of Digor District of Kars. Criticizing the YSK decision, HDP spokesperson Saruhan Oluç said they do not approve the decision and claim that the YSK was being used as a political tool. Oluç stressed that there was no obstacle for the candidates dismissed by a decree law when they were elected as mayoral candidates. The YSK could have issued a circular before the election to say that people within the scope of decree laws are ineligible to become a mayoral candidate, he added.
Joining our show via Skype today is Mr. Suat Kınıklıoğlu, who is a senior fellow at the University of Oxford's Middle East Center and also a former member of Turkish Parliament. Mr. Kınıklıoğlu will be answering our questions regarding the aftermath of the March 31st local elections in Turkey. Mr. Kınıklıoğlu, welcome to This Week in Turkey.
Thank you.
Well, my first question would be how you evaluate the ongoing legal process that will affect the results of local elections in Turkey.
First of all, I have to say that, including myself, probably millions of Turks are disappointed with the ongoing dragging on of this process, which ostensibly is based on challenges to the outcome. But I think I would say knows that Mr. İmamoğlu has won the Istanbul mayorship race by 14,000 votes or 15,000 votes, depending on what the latest figure are. It's quite concerning and truly unnerving that this process has been constantly extended under recounts, then the recounts of recounts, which obviously shows that the ruling party wants to gain time to finally decide what it wants to do. It's very frustrating to see that what should be a quick process by the Higher Election Council, that Mr. İmamoğlu has not been yet announced as the winner of the race. I ran the election campaign of Mr. Mansur Yavaş in 2014. And when we challenged that process, within 2 or 3 days, Mr. Gökçek received his document evidencing the win, as we say in Turkish, mazlata. But here in Istanbul, I think the stakes are too high. I think the ruling party has been quite surprised and is now grappling with what to do in this unexpected development that they have lost Istanbul. But the longer this carries on, unfortunately, this is putting more and more questions about the quality of our democracy. It was already under quite some strain, given the conditions that the elections have been taking place in Turkey for the last couple of years. But this last election probably was the dirtiest election we have ever seen in Republican history. So this is really the outcome of this process will determine whether Turkey is a democracy, will remain so or not. I think this is not only about whether Mr. İmamoğlu or Mr. Yıldırım won, but this really will be seen as a key milestone in defining what Turkey's regime is all about.
And how do you think the Supreme Electoral Board will decide? You know, in what atmosphere do you think the board will be taking its decisions?
Well, there's a lot of pressure on them. As you know, the pro-government media has actually published all of their pictures in one of their newspapers, almost threatening them. So there is obviously a lot of pressure on them, and they also, of course, know that İmamoğlu has won. I don't know how they will decide and under what circumstances this decision will come out. However, there's no doubt there is a lot of pressure on them from both sides, but more so from the governing side. Given the hardcore evidence, Mr. İmamoğlu has won. There is no doubt about that. And I think many AKP supporters acknowledge that he has won. And while people want to move on and have, move on with this election and continue their normal lives, unfortunately, the AKP seems to be determined to overturn this result and force a re-election, which I'm not sure would be taking place at all if whether the opposition parties will take place. But if what's happening to the HDP in the southeast in the last couple of days is any indication, I think it's more likely that the Higher Election Council will decide on how the AKP wishes it wants to decide.
And another thing that we're curious about is how Western countries evaluate the ongoing post-electoral legal process. How do you think they will react in different scenarios?
Well, as you know, we live in a globalized world. What's happening in Turkey has tremendous impact to Europe, the Balkans, the Black Sea region, the Middle East, the Eastern Mediterranean, etc. So this election is closely followed both outside and also via the embassies of foreign countries from the inside. So there's a lot of interest, and I think people are following this very closely. As I said earlier, the decision of the Higher Election Council will pretty much determine and provide a description of what the Turkish regime currently is. If it is still a procedural democracy, or if it's something else, we will probably find out, because if even under these conditions, when there's almost total media dominance by the ruling party, when there is totally unaccountable political financing all of the means by the governing party, both of this at the state level and also at the municipal level, used in favor of the government candidates, if even under these conditions they've lost these elections, and still the result is not accepted, not acknowledged by the leadership of the ruling party, I think this would in itself confirm that Turkey has become an authoritarian state that no longer can be called a democracy. And I think that is extremely worrying, and we already see today in the markets, the foreign exchange rate and other indicators, that this would have a tremendous impact on how investors, how foreign countries view their relationships with Turkey.
Mr. Kınıklıoğlu, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Today, we were joined by Suat Kınıklıoğlu, who commented on the results of the March 21st local elections, and now we will continue with our next news video. Tension between the US and Turkey continues to rise over Ankara's planned purchase of Russian-made S-400 air defense system.
Tension between the US and Turkey continues to rise over Ankara's planned purchase of Russia's S-400 air defense system. In a visit to the Kremlin on Monday, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan reiterated his determination to press ahead with the purchase. The following day, the leaders of the US Senate, Foreign Relations and Armed Services Committees warned Turkey that it risked tough sanctions if it pursued plans to purchase Russian missile defense systems. As committee leaders, the senators have powers such as placing holds on major foreign weapons sales and major roles in writing legislation, which could include punishing Turkey if it goes ahead with the S-400 deal. The senators said Turkey would be sanctioned, as required under US law, if it goes ahead with the S-400 purchase. President Erdogan, however, was insistent that the Russian air defense missile systems could be delivered earlier than initially planned. The delivery of the S-400 missile defense system was to be in July. Maybe it can be brought forward, Erdogan told reporters. Washington has already halted deliveries related to the F-35 program to Turkey in response to Ankara's decision to move ahead with the purchase. In a television interview on Wednesday, Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu said that Turkey could look elsewhere if the United States doesn't deliver F-35 fighter jets. Çavuşoğlu added that Turkey could also consider acquiring more S-400s or other systems if it can purchase the Patriot system as well.
Treasury and Finance Minister Berat Albayrak unveiled a new economic reforms package on Wednesday with a new set of structural reforms focusing on the banking and financial sector.
This transformation and reform process will decisively continue in a 4.5-year period with no election, Minister Albayrak said. Speaking at a news conference to announce the government's action plan, Albayrak said the financial sector prioritized a new set of structural reforms for 2019. Strengthening state-run lenders' capital structure will be our first step, he said, noting the Treasury will issue 28 billion Turkish lira worth government debt securities to make state banks' balance sheets robust. Albayrak said studies in coordination with the Banking Watchdog and Banking Association are continuing to support private lenders' capital structure. The minister noted that a new individual pension system, according to citizens' income level, will be determined in the coming period. We give priority to create an effective and healthy saving system, starting from state to individuals, to eliminate fragilities in the economy. In the next 5 years, funds accumulated in the new retirement system will exceed 10% of the country's gross domestic product, Albayrak said. He added that Turkey will also take steps in the real sector to ensure the healthy working of the financial sector. Touching on consumer prices, Albayrak said the National Unity in Agriculture project will be the most important reform to combat food inflation. In May, this comprehensive strategy will be unveiled by the Agriculture and Forestry Ministry, he said. Albayrak also said a greenhouse corporation will be established to work as a balance element in the fresh fruits and vegetables sector. Red meat price stability will be supported by a sheep and goat farming move, the minister also added.
In a statement on Monday, the Japanese car-making giant Honda announced that it will end its car production in Turkey after 2021.
Honda has decided to end car production in Turkey following completion of the production of its current Civic sedan model in 2021, the company said in a statement on April 8th. The statement said the company made the decision due to electrification developments in the industry globally and the need to ensure adequate production capacity. Operations in the automobile area that include vehicle imports and distribution would continue, Honda said, adding that its motorcycle operations will not be impacted by this decision. In a statement the company made on February 19th, the Japanese car maker had announced that it would restructure its global manufacturing network. Honda Turkey currently produces 38,000 units per year and employs 1,100 people.
That's all from This Week in Turkey. Thanks for tuning in and hope to see you soon again next Friday at 5 p.m. Goodbye.